I'll go ahead and get started. So you can look at the projector. I've got a PowerPoint. I've got a lot of stuff in here. Maybe a little overwhelming. I hope not, but I'm going to hopefully make you think about some things that you can take back to your clubs. Let me begin. Introduce our committee members. Of course, I'm Jessica. I live in Harlingen, Texas. You all know where that is? Yeah. Okay. For some of you, I use this reference because you know where SpaceX has been launching Boca Chica Beach. I'm about, yesterday I said 20 miles, but we're like 40 miles as a crow flies, so I'm very close to that. So when they take off in the sonic boom, it's amazing. You know, we're all freaking out. What's that? So, the other members: Jose Aleu, Grand Rapids; Yolanda Cadena from Houston; Thomas Farley, Des Moines; Maria Gallegos from Sioux City. I should have corrected that. John Osterhart and Maury Ratuliste. These are members. They do a great job. And toward the end of the presentation, you'll get to see some of the stuff that they're doing out there. And it's really impressive work that they've been doing. So, but before we begin that, I'm going to do a little activity with you. How do you pronounce this? You all know Joseph, right?
Here he goes.
And we see his name in our Serra prayer, correct? Okay. How do you say it in Spanish? Jose. You see where the accent is? It's Jose, J, right? And we see him in the Serra prayer as well, yes? In the Spanish translation, DNA locations, right, that they're translating. All right? We know this one very dearly. Jesus. And we see it in as well. How do you say it in Spanish? I'm going to share this. This is actually my name. This is my given name. You know me as Jessica, because we're among friends, right? But that's actually my given name. Jesus. But nobody's going to confuse me for Jesus, right? Although occasionally I'll get a voicemail that says, this call is for Jesus, Gallegos, and Now we see it in the Serra prayer as Cristo. But in Mexico, Central America, we also use Jesucristo for Jesus Christ. Okay? Alright, this next one is a trick question. How do you pronounce this name? You know how many versions I've heard? Junipero and Junipero and Junipero. I mean, I've heard a variety, right? When I redid the communications manual, it actually had their Junipero with a Y-U. And when I saw that, okay. So we had to redo all that, right? And of course, he's also in our prayer, right? Yes. Junipero is a Spanish name, right? Saint Serra was from Spain. He came to Alta California, which was still part of Spain and Mexico. So the accent is on the ni. Junipero. So you need to practice that. That's how it is pronounced, because it's a Spanish name. Right? It's a derivative of juniper, but we're not going to call him Saint Juniper Serra. We call him Saint Junipero Serra. Correct? Are you with me? Okay. And of course we see him in our sermon prayer in Spanish. Card. So, think about this. When I shared this with the board, they kind of gave me a, guy is stretching it, right? But when we pray, Saint Junipero Serra, pray for us, think about it. Junipero Serra are Spanish words, are Spanish names. So you are actually praying in two languages. A stretch?
No.
But if we agree that Junipero Serra are Spanish names, then you're praying in Spanish. Think about it. Okay. So now I'm going to get into some of the meat of the presentation. There was a survey done by a U.S. CCB Committee on Cultural Diversity. There was a subcommittee on Hispanic Affairs. It was done in August of 2024. And these were the results. 175 surveys, and you can read it. 16,000 parishes. Of those, 14,479 have masses in Spanish. And then there's a Hispanic Latino presence or ministry in some of the other parishes, right? And what they did is they had this spreadsheet with, and I'm going to show you in a little bit, but it lists all the dioceses, archdioceses and dioceses, the number of masses in Spanish, the Hispanic and Latino ministries or presence, right? And it does a comparison of those. I'm going to show you this. But in this article, Alejandro Aguilera Titus, who is the Assistant Director of Hispanic Affairs, said in a statement that the survey reflects the dedication of our diocese to Hispanic and Latino communities. We call the results of the survey heartening because it shows a widespread commitment to build a more integrated and united Catholic Church in the United States. And that's what we're trying to do with cultural outreach. Okay, so they recognize that. So I'm going to show you some of the stats. And I played with this, and again, there's all these parishes, and it had the number of parishes, you can see that. Parishes with Spanish masses, parishes with the Hispanic Latino presence. And then I did kind of a percentage. In these dioceses, archdioceses, how many of them have masses and ministries? And what's that percentage look like? Right? So, as you can see, Archdiocese of Los Angeles, 288 parishes, 240 of them have Spanish masses, 88% of the diocese, archdiocese, has a Hispanic Latino presence. And there are 3 clubs. So I just I'm taking the top of it, right? The number that we're looking at is that third column. Now I belong to the Diocese of Brownsville. Do you see it? No. Right in the middle. 72 parishes, and 72 parishes have masses in Spanish. 100%. Right? And that's critical because if I want to go to a Spanish Mass, I can. And if I want to pray in Spanish, I can. Which is a wonderful option, yes? Now we have something unique in the Valley as well, where we have masses that are in Spanish and English. And they kind of alternate. The first reading is in Spanish, second one in English, and so on. The homily is done in English and Spanish. Kind of unique, right? So anyway, the highlighted blues are the ones where there are missions, Serra missions there, okay? On the other side, there are parishes that don't have any Spanish masses or any ministries. No fault of them. I mean, I just wanted to kind of show you, the high end and then the low end, right? But we do have clubs there. And for example, Steubenville, 50 parishes, 2 Spanish masses, and 2 clubs. That's encouraging to me. Those are 2 clubs I can reach out to and say, hey, there are 2 parishes with Spanish masses. Let's go talk to them. Yeah. Again, just stats. You can manipulate this however you want. And I'll send it out to John Listen so he can share it with everybody. So it's a very good report. So let's talk about the languages in the U.S. Of course, English is the most, 78%. Spanish is followed, 13.4%. And you go to the airport, everything's in English and Spanish, yes? And whenever you make a call, it's always in English, but para español, prima, número dos, right? So it's always something like that. And then so on. So these are just statistics from the census. But the most spoken languages other than English and Spanish in the US are the Mandarin, Cantonese, Tagalog, French, Chinese, Vietnamese, so on. Just statistics, right? Just so that we're aware that there are other languages and other masses spoken in different languages, yes?
Creole's not on there. Haitian Creole's not on there.
Yeah, because it's a minor, but
It's not mine.
bear with me here. I know this is a lot of we're not up to. So besides English and Spanish, which are most spoken, what is the most spoken language in your state? And I went through articles and I really looked to find something that was kind of consistent and presentable, because they change over the years, right? People move and so on. But keep that in mind. Think of your state and what is the third most spoken language. You ready? So you see Florida, Haitian Creole. Now in Texas, where I'm from, in the valley, there's a high presence of Filipinos, and I thought that was going to be. And then when I found out it was Vietnamese, and recently Ronnie mentioned that they had an event where they distributed cards in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, which is something very, very unique. So anyway, this is very interesting, I thought. And I looked at a ton of them, and this is probably the better, more accurate one. Now, if we go into these different sections, and this is just an example, but this site that I found it in shows the different. So we're going to look at the central Minnesota, Illinois, you can see Ohio, Indiana, Iowa, Arabic, Polish, German, Wisconsin, German, Mama is Minnesota. So if we go even deeper into the states, then you can see how they vary, and there's a variety of other. I know this is kind of small, but I couldn't make anything bigger with this. So again, this article has every region of the United States, and it kind of shows you where they're concentrated, right? So you look at the largest cities and so on. All right, so Saint Junipero Serra spoke two languages, didn't he? He spoke Spanish, but he also learned Otani, which was the indigenous language at the time. It's still around. It's still in California. It's still in Mexico. It's still spoken. But he learned two languages, right? In his missionary work. So to me, isn't that cultural outreach? Missionary work is really about cultural outreach, right? And for Saint Serra to learn the language, to better preach and the gospel, it was important to him, and he did that. I bought the rights to this picture, and it was painted by Lalo Garcia by Archbishop Jose Gomez in 2015, when Saint Serra was canonized as a saint. And you can see Serra, he came through Mexico, right? And La Virgen de Guadalupe was there, because she came about around 1513 or so. Isn't that a wonderful picture? I loved it. So I bought the rights to it. I can show it in a PowerPoint, but I can't do anything else with it. So then, what is the objective of the cultural outreach? What are we trying to do? What do we do? What was our main thing for it? One word. What is it? Mike.
Vocation.
Prayer. Prayer. That's it. We just want Catholics to pray for vocations and pray in their language. That's it. No, it's not rocket science, you know. That's it. I mean, that's what we want. And so, I go back to Alejandro Aguilera. In the study showed widespread commitment to build a more integrated and united Catholic church in the United States. I think as Serrans we need to embrace that, right? Because we're praying. That's it. Nothing more. Nothing more than that, just to pray. So I've talked about these strategies and we'll continue. Serra, Hispanic Ambassador. The satellite concept is still something very important. And of course the Ignite program, which is wonderful. I've been trained in it and ready to go. But we do have challenges, yes? Finding them. Well, I found the Spanish ones, right? Based on that study, it showed all the parishes and the masses. I had started doing that, and that took me forever to do, and I found this, my work was done. Now my challenge is to find the other languages and the other masses in that. Talked about courage in one of the presentations. It takes courage to go up to and talk to people in your parishes, doesn't it? It's not easy, you know, but we do it. And we try. And I ask you to continue to try. And the only reason we do influential members is because these are the ones that are well connected. And these are the ones that can probably get some people to you to start those conversations and the dialogue there. Bishops, vocation directors, and priests. The support or lack of. We all face that, right? Even when we're trying to start a new Serra club, if you don't have the support of the priest or the vocationer, it's very difficult. So when we start forming these Hispanic clubs, no different than starting any club. We're just doing it in a different language. That's it. The strategies are the same. Clubs sometimes have a hard time even getting a VP for programs. So getting a VP for cultural outreach is really something a little more for the clubs, right? So I don't fault them. I mean, that's just the way it is. But this last challenge was very heartbreaking to me when I found out that some Serra Club members resist this. I found out of an incident where the Serra members are saying, we're not going to pray in other languages. We're only going to pray in English. When I found out, I reached out to Dr. Ann and Mike, and they took decisive action, and I appreciate that. It's a lot better. But in this instant, one of the Serra Hispanic ambassadors was questioned and confronted by some of the members. They didn't agree with reaching out to the Hispanic community. I don't know about you, but this Serrans should not resist this. Why? Because we're just getting more Catholics praying for vocations. That's it. That's all we want. But for Serrans to say, no, you're only going to pray in English. Or I'm going to say, you're only going to pray in Spanish. It's just wrong. It's just wrong to me. Bothered me a long time. I'm better. So, after that, let me show you some successes. So, Jose and Leo, Maria Gallegos, no relation, although my wife is also Maria. And my mom was also Maria Gallegos, so very common name.
You are related.
Tom Farley from Des Moines, and I want to talk a little bit about the new Hispanic apostolado, right? So Jose and Leo shared this video. I don't know if there's audio or not. Okay. I had a little video, but it's not coming up. But this is a strategy where, and you've all done this, you go after mass and you go speak. Only he did it in Spanish, it was talking about Serra, and that's what he did. And this is an example of the table he had outside. He's passing out pamphlets and some cards. Maria Gallegos in Sioux City, you can see the elaborate tables that she puts out. These are really, really nice. We did buy, the Cultural Outreach Committee did buy that banner in Spanish. So that's something that we're going to be moving around the United States as the need comes up. And right now, what's his name? That escapes me. Farley. Tom Farley. He had it and he mailed it out to Margarita Waters, and they're having a Serra event. So she has it. You see some more of the tables that she does, and how elaborate they are. I included a picture of her with Mike Downey, because this is his thing when he was president. And I was very happy with that, so. Okay, Tom Farley, Central Region also had, like I said, he had his banner, he had his trifold presentation there at his table. So that worked out real nice. He said it was very, very well attended, so. And then the McAllen Hispanic Club was chartered on October 26th. The district governor and myself, we did the installations and the inductions of the members. And Giovanna, I don't think she's here, but she represented Serra International and presented the certificate to them. She read it and presented it, so she did a great job on that as well. And that's Francisco Pacheco, he's a new president. They started off with 35, they're now 60. It grows pretty fast. The North Houston Hispanic Club went from 50 to 100 and something. Yeah, that's Candace's program. Candace created and did that one, that was amazing. So there's some good things going on, and we got to continue the momentum. We cannot honor resistance, right? We have to push back and say, no, we need to pray. Pray in whatever language you want, clean on it, I don't care. Just pray. Okay, I'm a Trekkie, right? I'm a nerd. So Spanish materials that might be of interest to you. Of course, we have the 7 prayers, the BNA Vocations has them. I did the translations to the 7 grades, Lenten devotionals. I have my own little system in Harlingen. The Serra application I redid, but in this one, somebody gave me I think it was Tom gave me the idea to do it both in English and Spanish. Instead of having one side, 2 side, all on one page. It's English and Spanish.
Good.
And then you just have one page to fill out when you go. The U.S. Model Club bylaws, I thought was important. You start a new club, you can have that. What your dues do, I think, Mike, you did that perhaps? I think that was yours. I translated that. Charting a new club and the quick start manual. All things to start, right? And important things I thought we need to have. Mexico provided a lot of materials, but their manuals are pretty outdated and don't really align to ours, okay? But that's there. The BNA vocations, there's Spanish archives. You can see, you can go on to BNA and look at it. I have some club-specific translations like Davenport, Book of Prayers. The North Houston Spanish Club brochure is beautiful, and then so on. Okay, and starting a collection of prayers. We have Burmese, Filipino, so I'll start collecting some of those. So on March 24th, Cultural Outreach Committee will have a national Zoom meeting, 7 p.m. Central. And I'm going to send an email probably late February through the Club Express, send it out to the presidents and VPs. And so, I'm not quite done, but I'm gonna ask you this question, I'm gonna challenge you. And come talk to me, What kind of strategies or practices do you or your clubs use or have tried to reach out to the Catholic community, to start a parish in your vocation ministry in your parish? Something to think about. If there are some things that you have tried, I'd like to know, to kind of have some kind of a collection of ideas for that. So you can reach me at my phone number. I have 2 emails, I don't know why, but I just wanted to give you both. And then a prayer for vocations. I got this from Maury. And it says, Lord Jesus, through the intercession of the most blessed Mother Mary, we implore you to inspire young men and women to consecrate themselves to you as priests and religious, especially in the Diocese of Spokane. Spokane, how do you pronounce it? Spokane. He said, change Spokane and put your diocese on there. Break through the noise and distractions, make it difficult to hear your voice, place in their hearts joyful courage to respond generously in their call and profound desire to spend their lives serving you and your people. Mary, Mother of the Church, help us to be receptive and faithful to your Son's particular call to our lives through Christ our Lord. Amen. Our Lady of Lourdes is a parish, so put your parish there. And he said, tell them they can use this prayer or just check out the diocese and the church. And of course, it's in Spanish. Okay?
Will you be sending that to so we don't have to retype it?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so that's my presentation. Hopefully, it gives you something to think about, to take back to your clubs. So, muchísimas gracias. Siempre adelante, nunca retroceder. Now, look at your booklets, at your program. Look at the back, and at the bottom right. What does it say? Hacia atrás. Okay, that's okay too. Or siempre adelante, nunca atrás. I've seen that before. That's okay too. But Mexico, Central America, even the South American countries like to use retroceder, which is backwards. Always forward, never backwards. Right? So it's just a variation. None of them are correct. I think they're all good. Whatever you're comfortable with is good. So, and I got this from Paraguay. This little San Junípero Serra, ruega por nosotros. Now say it with me. Junípero. Junípero. Practice. Any questions?
Yes, Jesse, you made the comment that what would be the best way to get a ministry started in a parish?
Yes.
So if the strategy is to have a Serran introduce something at a parish that you don't really have a Serran there, that's the case in Lima, Ohio, a foot in the door, if you don't have a Serran who's from that parish, is the easiest vocation program you can pick, and that is priesthood signing.
Yes.
Okay? I mean, you're basically saying thanks to your priest.
Yeah.
Now, what Catholic doesn't really want to say every once in a while thanks to their priest? So you're just really saying, okay, this is a good thing to say thanks, and this is the day for it,
Yeah.
and this is what Serrans do. So you're identifying that experience with Serra. And so that's a foot in the door, and from that you might get some potential members. If at the very least you can actually say the next time around, okay, remember a year ago when Priesthood Sunday was introduced here, I'm from the Serra Club, and we'd like to we'd like to encourage you to have a vocation for your, whatever. And this is what that's an example of what Serrans do.
Yes. Start the conversation, exactly. Okay, thanks.
Jesse, I just wanted you to share with the group, because I'm sure that you have the documentation and everything about it. But because we have an enormous Hispanic population in Southern California, something that's quite sad for us is that the priests or the seminarians that are entering is only representing about 5% of those that are studying for the priesthood, where our congregations are over 50%. And on a recent Hispanic Reach Cultural to a local parish, it was actually St. Norbert's in Orange, California. We approached the Spanish priest and he was marvelous, very, very interested. And we kind of hit him hard with that particular statistic. And he was like, we're all over it, you watch what we can do, etc. So I just wanted you to just kind of share anything that you would have to add to that.
And like I said before, the priests are very important. Even in the valley where we're primarily Hispanic, we have a shortage. And I was telling somebody, we have priests that go from one church to the next because we don't have enough even there. I think as we get into these cultural outreach and get to these Hispanic communities and start promoting vocations and supporting that we can get some seminarians out of that group, right? And now we're not only helping our mission, but we're helping the Catholic community to have those priests there. I don't know if I answered your question, but.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the banner we get with the Serra store, Vietnam Vocations, they have them. Mm-hmm. And they can be, you can put your club name on them, a little more of course, but you can get them there. So anyway, thank you so much.